Cloning is an iffy subject. To legally clone a person, one must obtain informed consent from the donor, that they must understand the clone is effectively their own person, with their own subjectivity and personal rights. The donor holds no authority over their facsimile, unless they requested to raise them as their child, in which case the donor is granted legal recognition of a parent-offspring relationship, with all the relevant mores, traditions, and legal rights. For all intents and purposes, legally, subjectively, and practically, clones are individuals distinct from their donor. They have their own legal rights and entitlements. Their only difference compared to natural-born persons is that their genetic data is identical to that of their donor, otherwise there's no difference. Aside from full-body cloning, partial cloning is more commonly used for medical purpose. Tissue, organs, limbs, bodily fluids, all incapable of conscious or unconscious thought, are regularly cloned to provide the donor with perfect match replacement. As previously mentioned, the donor still has to provide informed consent as defined by their culture and state before this is allowed. However, this was a lot different before ThirdCom was formed. Under SecCom, facsimile clones are second-class persons. Their individuality is recognized, but their rights are limited, because they aren't people, they are investments. States, corporations, and other bodies of this era regularly cloned people for labor, service, or even a steady supply of soldiers. They are people, yet they have no right of their own, for they are legal property of their progenitors. The only thing their owners are mandated to, is to provide the bare minimum level of care for the facsimiles, enough to ensure they didn't die of hunger, thirst, or reasonably preventable illness or exposure. State and private militaries utilized facsimile clones heavily, with specific martial traits selected and enhanced. Company schools of the corps states conditioned their clones to staff their many facilities. And in the baronies, facsimiles occupied the highest echelon of society as ideal heirs, doubles, and tokens for the trade of pleasure or favors. That's not even the worst part. In time of crisis or when a rush job was needed to be filled, flash clones were created instead. Flash clones are basically clones that can mature into adulthood in less than 5 years. There's nothing special about their gene which is similar to that of facsimile clones, but the accelerated growth process was traumatic and prone to error. Everything about flash clone was about speed. Everything has to be done fast and made fast. Cognition conditioning was used to teach them even faster to save time, but all these came at the increased chances of degenerative diseases, atypical neurogenesis, anomalous tumors, catastrophic immunodeficiencies, and many other chronic, terminal genetic illnesses. However, most of the people created by flash cloning process didn't even live long enough to die of the process that produced them. Most flash clones were created to fill up the rank of armed force, or replace a depleted mining corps. Once their jobs were finished, they were considered disposable. This is why ThirdCom rejects whole subjectivity flash cloning completely as a core assumption of its utopian pillars. However, flash cloning is still used somewhere in human space, filling in gray spaces of legality and morality. Despite the complete outlawing of whole-body flash cloning, it is still allegedly used by Harrison Armory and some of the larger baronic houses, who argue that their flash cloning is only similar to the old method in name only, as their processes are much safer now. Right, and I got a bridge on cornucopia for sale. Members of the Third Committee of Union regularly urge action to fulfill Union's mandate, and often task Union Department of Justice and Human Rights with enforcing the ban against smaller targets, like underground flash cloning sites. They even have a separated facsimile rights department just to handle legal claims from facsimile persons, and oversee cloning facilities as well as maintenance of public genetic proof data. Flash cloning isn't entirely terrible, however. A process influenced by it was developed during the Neo-Anthropocene period, called rapid cloning, which is used for medical purposes of rapidly cloning the patient's limbs, organs, and tissues to rectify a stable patient's physical trauma. This process allows necessary body parts to be grown within hours of genetic mapping, which can then be transplanted or grafted onto the patients. Ultimately, cloning is a very useful piece of technology, but one that encompasses a wide spectrum of legality, morality, and ethics. It must be treated with care, and not to be abused by the power-hungry. Hello there, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell button. If you really want to support my channel, you could visit my Patreon page, or buy me some coffee, links in the description. Anyway, have a nice day.